KG's back, and so are we. Celtics win 107-96. This is the Garnett Report on Celtics blog and CLNS Radio. All right, welcome to the Garnett Report. My name is Jared Weiss. With me, as always, Evans Clinchy and Jay King filling in for Jimmy Toscano. The Celtics pulled this one out, 107-96. It was a nice Sunday early win, so we're going to do a baller of the early evening tonight. And we're going to talk about Brandon Bass kicking some ass and, of course, the return of KG and Paul Pierce. Let's get right into it. Jay, we'll start with you. How did KG look in his first game back in a few weeks?
KG looked pretty good. There was a little stretch there when he airballed a layup and absolutely bricked a turnaround jumper. But other than that, he looked like KG. And the biggest thing about KG is he makes everyone else's job easier. Everyone else falls into place when he's out there. He makes things easier for Brandon Bass. He gives Paul Pierce easier looks. He just makes everything easier for them. Chris Wilcox had his best game in who knows how long, maybe his best game of the season. And Doc Rivers said after the game that he likes playing with Wilcox with Garnett because Garnett makes him that much better. And he just hides people's mistakes, offensively, defensively. He swings the basketball. The ball moves a lot better when Kevin Garnett's out there. And I don't think that's at all. I think we should credit that to him.
It's him, yeah. Yeah, we all knew that he was going to come back and he's going to be communicating and moving on defense. I mean, that's a given with Kevin Garnett. I think the one worry going into this game might have been the offense. If he misses one shot and starts to press a little bit, then it starts to kind of snowball for him. And it looked a little shaky in the second quarter. As you mentioned, he had the air ball from 6 inches away, and he had that weird fadeaway shot. I mean, it looked like he was kind of falling apart early and you didn't want him to press from there. But then he came back and he was really efficient. He made 6 out of 9 shots. So besides those 2 misses, he was 6 for 7. He had a really solid, efficient game. He didn't try to do too much. It was just right.
And he looked like he was pretty explosive. And I think
for him, yeah.
that was key to see as a Celtics fan. Is that he looked pretty good. There was one play where John Wall was in transition, and John Wall is faster than Usain Bolt with a basketball in his hands. And
I'd love to see that happen.
Let's definitely make that happen. Yeah. We have enough power to do that. Don't
Totally.
We? Yeah.
Calling you out, Usain.
Yeah. So,
all right.
John Wall going to the basket. KG altered a miss. He altered the layup, forced a miss, and those are things that you're happy to see because those are the things Kevin Garnett does on a daily basis. And you weren't sure if he was going to be able to do that with the foot issue. But, he looked pretty good out there, all things considered.
Well, the thing that I saw that made me kind of satisfied was in the first quarter, I think he went up to contest a layup, and then he came back down and immediately went up for a rebound and actually got pretty good air on it. So to see that he can have a second leap coming off of that sore ankle, that's really big because that means that he's not feeling right now, or not feeling too much at the very least pain when he's coming down off of the leap. He's able to get back up there. That's going to be important because he's tall, but he doesn't leap quite as high as he used to. So he's going to need that second opportunity to leap up in the air. But let's hear what he and Paul had to say after the game.
It felt good to be back on the floor. I think the guys kind of lit up that I was out. So that's always a good thing.
We're not going anywhere without Kevin's presence. And just to be honest with you, he's a big part of what we try to do out there on offense and defense. We play through him a lot. He anchors the defense, and it's going to be important for him in these last few games just to kind of get his legs back and get going.
Okay, so Paul had a baby, had a sore ankle, and now he's back. Jay, was it just Paul Pierce?
Paul Pierce was Paul Pierce. It's weird when Paul Pierce gets injured. It's almost like I don't even worry about him because when he comes back, he's always kind of the same guy. Even he played all playoffs last year with a sprained MCL, and he kind of did the same things that he normally does. He's pretty durable, and
with his style of play, he doesn't really need to be healthy. He can just kind of hobble into the paint and put up a jumper and get fouled and get to the line, and it's just he does Paul Pierce things even when he's not 100%.
Yeah, he was Paul Pierce.
Well, if the brakes are skidding a little bit for him, his game is designed for him to just bump into people. So if he
and get the call every single time because he's Paul Pierce.
Exactly. So if he goes too fast and he can't really put the brakes on, he'll just fly into somebody and let them put the brakes on.
That one layup he missed, where they gave him the call, we were talking about earlier.
Yeah, we noted this.
He missed a layup, and after he missed a layup, the refs decided, Paul Pierce missed a layup. He must have gotten fouled.
Yeah, there was no contact. It was a really late whistle, but whatever. It's just Paul Pierce missing. You might as well give him a whistle.
And Paul Pierce is back, and Brandon Bass said it after the game. I thought he said it best. Things just run better when Pierce and Garnett are in there, and Bass said they run the offense through Pierce and Garnett, and everyone else just kind of fills in around them. And That's the way it has been for a while, especially with Rondo out. And they look a lot better, obviously, with Garnett and Pierce back in the lineup. With Pierce out of the lineup, by the way, they've lost 3 games to Minnesota, Charlotte, and Cleveland, who was on a 10-game losing.
I think you just broke the camera when you said that. Okay, well, you're talking about Bass. Let's talk about him. But before we do, let's hear from him and Doc, what they had to say about Brandon's performance after the game.
He's just making open shots, you know, and it's when you're 9 for 12, he's just efficient. We still want him to rebound. We want the whole team to rebound more. But overall, I think he's playing terrific. I think he's in a wonderful place right now.
It don't matter if I get a play call, you know. The ball will find me, and hopefully I just make a shot.
Doc said they don't draw plays for Brandon. Brandon says, yeah, they don't draw plays for me.
Really don't.
The big thing, something that I really noticed tonight that I guess I didn't really appreciate until we had KG out, is that there's a play that they run that's very effective. They did it with Rondo, and they can do it with Pierce, where they run a staggered screen or a double screen, and you have Bass will pop or roll one way, and KG will pop up to the elbow. And that's like their most effective play, at least for the last couple years. And Bass didn't really get to run it too much without KG there, and especially without Paul there. Tonight, they ran it to perfection, and Brandon was hitting shots in the high post, out in the mid-range. He was getting them pretty much everywhere tonight, and he was hitting them all.
Yeah, and we were just talking about this. Brandon Bass has been so much better the last 3 or 4 weeks. And he's not doing anything very appreciably different from what he did before. He's just making shots. He's limiting his bad shots, which, as Evans was saying earlier, off air, he didn't do a good job of doing that early in the season. Took a lot of contested shots. But other than that, he's not doing much different. He's just playing better in his role.
Yeah, I think he just really thrives when there's less defensive focus on guarding him. I mean, with Garnett back in the lineup and Pierce back in the lineup, and Avery Bradley took, I think, 5 of the first 8 shots for Boston, so there's a lot of focus on stopping him, too. I mean, the last guy you're looking at is Brandon Bass, and so he's open more often, and he's knocking down open shots. I mean, early in the season, he was just taking shots with a hand in his face that he had to fade away and get over the defender, and it just wasn't going in. He's getting easier looks at the basket now, and he's getting confidence when they fall in, so it's been good for him.
And I think with Garnett back and Bass in the starting lineup and Jeff Green in the starting lineup, you know, we didn't see this tonight. Green only finished with 8 points. But I think having those 2 guys in the starting lineup, playing with those 2 guys, will help Jeff Green because they're such good mid-range shooters that you have to cover them, and that leaves the paint more open. And I think Green will really benefit from that, playing alongside Bass, Garnett, and Pierce, who can shoot, and Bradley, who hasn't shot well this year, but he made him last year. He made him last year, though.
He's a good shooter in high school. Let's go on.
Well, the thing was, Green was an afterthought today after being the dominant player in this offense for the past couple of weeks. It's definitely a competitive team when Jeff Green can be an afterthought and you can win a game.
But I think the thing about that is the balance. And at halftime, I looked at the box score, and it was like someone had 8 points, 8 points, 7 points, 6 points, 5 points. And it's like, yeah, Green didn't have a good night, but it wasn't like he was completely absent. It's just the opportunities didn't go to him. Next game, they might go to him. Pierce might have fewer points. Next game, they might go to him. Bass might have fewer points. They just have more weapons now. And it wasn't that Jeff Green played badly. It's just he didn't get a lot of touches with an opportunity.
There was a lot of focus on stopping Jeff Green, as there should be when he scored 33 times in the last 2 weeks. I mean, the guy's drawing defensive focus, and it's opening up guys like Bass.
And I think that was an interesting point that Doc Rivers made about their big lineup, that they didn't know who other teams were going to put the big guy on, and that they've put him on Jeff. And Pierce has made a living in his career out of posting up smaller players and hitting that mid-range jumper. And if he can get smaller players throughout the playoffs, that's going to be huge for them because he really does kill mismatches. Pierce does. And Green has too this year. And, I mean, that lineup can be tough. Theoretically, it can be tough. This is the first time we saw it tonight. It looked good. I like the possibilities of that.
Yeah. I mean, the defense is going to be the question. I mean, if you're playing the Knicks in the first round and J.R. Smith is blazing around Jeff Green and getting to the basket, then we got to talk. But the offense has been pretty sweet. I can admit that.
Well, while we're looking ahead, we got 5 games left in the regular season. Evans, what are you looking for them to accomplish in the meantime?
Really just find cohesion with this lineup. I mean, there's still guys trying to figure out their roles. Like, Jeff Green doesn't know if he's guarding the 2 or the 3 or, like, what he's supposed to be doing on the floor. And, you know, just offensively, the balance is good. We agree on that. But just defensively, guys need to find their roles and figure out what they're doing. That's the main concern for me.
Because, I mean, something that was talked about in the press conference from the last game is now that KG is back, are we going to have a starting lineup in the playoffs with Paul Pierce at the 2 and Jeff Green at the 3? I mean, that's what I'm really looking to see in the last couple games of the season. Because despite Avery Bradley shooting, there's no question he's going to be the guy starting at the 1.
Yep.
And do you want Bass out there, or do you want Green out there, or do you want Courtney Lee out there? But the way that the guys are playing right now, I think it's a no-brainer that you're going to have Bass at the 3 and Bass at the 5 and Green at the 3. Yeah. But it hasn't, putting Paul at the 2, depending on what the matchup is, can be a little bit risky.
See, I think that in the Eastern Conference, it's not that risky because you can hide Pierce. Let's say there's J.R. Smith on the Knicks. Mm-hmm. Hide him on Jason Kidd. Let's say you're playing Dwayne Wade on the Miami Heat. Put Avery on Dwayne Wade. Put Paul Pierce. Hide him on Mario Chalmers. So yeah, there's a risk there, but I think it makes them more difficult to match up with than the matchups the other way around. I think they'll benefit from it more than they'll be hurt by it.
Yeah, I think you got to go with that lineup because you can't start Avery Bradley and Courtney Lee at the same time. I mean, let's face it, they're both just dead offensively right now. And Courtney Lee is a good offensive player. He can make jump shots at a really high rate, but he hasn't been doing it the last few months, and it's really shot his confidence, it seems like. I don't think you can have Lee and Bradley, just two offensive black holes on the floor at the same time and get by. It doesn't seem to work. I mean, I think Lee's going to be a good Avery Bradley backup pretty much, but not much more than that.
And, I mean, that lineup with Pierce, Green, KG, and Bass, they can all shoot from the mid-range area. So the Celtics can get the mid-range shots that they want. Mm-hmm. And they all can individually score when they need to. I mean, they got the 3 guys in the middle there. They can all score. But Bass, you're going to be able to not run plays for him, but run plays to set him up for a pick and pop. And it's at the effect of getting him to be a scorer for you.
So we all like the starting lineup?
We all do.
The only change I would like is to clone Shavik Randolph 4 times and start 5 of him.
The boring man.
40 offensive rebounds a game.
I guess KG and Pierce will do.
Okay. All right, so any disagreements for baller of the early evening for Brandon Bass?
Yes.
Yeah, me too.
Kevin Garnett.
Oh, me too. Okay.
Kevin Garnett. Okay. Because he came back, the team that had stunk for the 8 games he was out, returned to being the Boston Celtics, really did a great job against a Washington team that hasn't been really the Wizards lately. And so I think this is a better win than a lot of people will realize. And you got Kevin Garnett to thank for that. They just look so much better with him in the lineup. That as good as Brandon Bass was, sorry, man, you were overshadowed in my eyes by Kevin Garnett.
Yeah, I mean, Doc was saying a couple of games ago that Brandon Bass is the new talker, communicator on defense. He's telling guys where to be. He's telling when they're messing up. I think Doc's lying through his teeth. The only guy on this team that can do that is KG, and they're so different defensively with him back. I mean, it just, it doesn't matter if he's only got 12 points and 6 boards. Like, the guy's a huge, huge difference maker on the defensive end, and it shows.
Well, it's a big lie because he's got a pretty big smile. But I think that while Bass obviously isn't the lead communicator, that was weird.
Communicator.
I just want to emphasize and keep it slow. But while he's not the main communicator with Kevin on the floor, when KG went out, Bass had to take on that role, and he did a good job at it. I mean, I thought that while their interior defense wasn't dominant, it didn't collapse. And to see the fact that protecting the paint didn't collapse with KG out, that's kind of a moral victory beyond comprehension.
I would say it mostly collapsed.
Would you really? I mean, the last 5 games?
They were getting killed inside. Every team was a parade
on that road trip that they went on, sure, but in the last couple of games or so, they haven't been getting killed on the inside as much, except for
Tristan Thompson had 27.
Yeah.
Sure, but I mean, for me, that's more, I'm talking about letting in penetration more so than rebounding. I think, for me, defensive rebounding and actual interior protection are 2 different things.
Yeah, and they were bad
at both. Santiago. We'll agree to disagree.
Okay, so we're going to wrap this one up. You can listen to this show on iTunes at the CLNS Radio iTunes feed. Find it on the Celtics Blog YouTube page. CLNS Radio with a brand new website. It looks absolutely fantastic. Celtics Blog, we haven't mentioned that in a while. They relaunched the website back in the beginning of the season. It looks fantastic. So 2 beautiful websites for you to stare at all day or while you're sitting on the toilet looking at your phone.
Come on now.
Hey, MassLive.com.
I'm promoting our sites first. Then we'll get to
friend of the show would like to have
MassLive.com.
his thing plugged. All right,
So Jay King is in his new position as a full-time Celtics beat writer, which has made me a happy boy for one. But Jay,
we'll give you man.
There you go. But Jay, MassLive.com is also a fantastic website. You can find his coverage there, and in your Twitter handle
at Celtics Town.
So you can find him there at Evans Clinchy at CLNS_Jared Weiss. The Celtics, they win this one 107-96. This is the Garnett Report on Celtics Blog and CLNS Radio.